The Temple of Echoes. Ava stepped into the ancient temple with slow and careful steps. Her boots echoed on the smooth stone floor, filling the wide hall with a soft tapping sound. She was the youngest explorer on her team, and sometimes she felt ignored. So when the others stayed outside to scan the strange moon, she walked inside alone. The temple was dark, but it was not empty. Dust floated like tiny stars in the air, and the walls were covered in old carvings that showed giant warriors with glowing eyes. Ava looked up and saw those same warriors standing around the hall like statues. Each one was tall as a small building, wearing armor that looked older than her entire species. They were called guardians by the ancient records, but no one had ever seen them move. The silence felt heavy, but Ava was not scared, just curious. She touched one of the stone pillars and felt a strange vibration under her palm. It reminded her of something soft and familiar, something from home. A memory came to her, a memory of her mother singing a gentle lullaby when she was sick as a child. It was a simple tune, nothing special, but Ava always loved it. Without thinking much, she hummed the lullaby inside the giant temple. The soft tune bounced off the walls and echoed back at her, but the echo sounded deeper, almost alive. A shiver ran down her back as the echo grew louder instead of fading away. She stopped humming and looked around, but everything was silent again. She laughed a little, thinking maybe she was just imagining things. A moment later, dust started to fall from the ceiling. At first she thought it was just the temple settling, but then she noticed something terrifying. The giant statues of the guardians were shaking. Their stone bodies cracked, and small pieces fell to the ground like old shells breaking open. Ava stepped back, her heart pounding in her chest. The air vibrated with a low humming sound, the same tune she had hummed only seconds earlier. One by one, the guardians opened their eyes. Blue light glowed from inside their faces, cold and bright like stars trapped behind glass. Ava froze, unable to move, unable to breathe. She wanted to call her team, but her voice felt locked inside her throat. The first guardian moved its arm, then its head, then its whole body. The sound of ancient armor shifting was like thunder inside the hall. Ava stumbled backward and fell on the floor, her hands shaking. The guardians were not just waking up, they were waking up because of her. All of them turned toward her at the same time. Their glowing eyes fixed on her small human form. Ava whispered a shaky question to herself, "What did I do?" But the temple gave her no answer, only the steady hum of the ancient song she had awakened. The largest guardian, taller than the rest, walked forward with slow heavy steps. Every footstep made the ground tremble. Ava crawled backward, afraid the giant would crush her. But when the guardian reached her, it suddenly stopped. Then, to her shock, the giant kneeled in front of her, lowering its head like a warrior greeting a commander. A deep voice came from the guardian, a voice that sounded like wind inside a cave. "Bearer of the voice," it said, "we answer your call." Ava's mind spun in confusion. Her mother's lullaby was never special, it was never meant to wake alien giants. So how did her simple human song bring an entire army back to life? Outside the temple, her team finally heard the thunder and ran toward the entrance. But Ava was already surrounded by the guardians. She stood there, shaking, realizing her life had changed forever. And the worst part was this. The guardians were not just awake. They were waiting for her command. Secrets of the human voice. Ava stood frozen as the guardians surrounded her. Their blue eyes glowed like silent stars, watching her with a strange mix of respect and expectation. She could hear her own heartbeat echoing inside the temple, louder than anything else. She wanted to speak, but her voice trembled. Before she could say anything, her team rushed inside the hall with their weapons raised. Captain Rian shouted her name, his voice sharp with fear. When he saw the giant army kneeling in front of Ava, he stopped in shock. The other explorers stared with wide eyes, unsure if they should run or shoot or simply faint. But the guardians did not move toward them. They stayed perfectly still, their attention locked only on Ava. Captain Rian whispered, "Ava, what did you do?" Ava shook her head slowly, her voice still shaking. "I just hummed a song, my mother's lullaby, that's all." The word sounded unbelievable even to her. One of the guardians stepped forward, its armor ringing like distant bells. "We respond only to the bearer of the voice," the guardian said, its voice deep and hollow like ancient wind. Captain Rian lowered his weapon a little, confused. "What voice?" he asked. "She is just human." The guardian turned its glowing face toward him. "The human voice carries the harmonic signature of the first makers," it replied. "Only such a voice can wake us." Ava frowned as she listened, her mind racing. Humans had always believed they were ordinary newcomers to the galaxy. So why did ancient alien machines answer to her song? The walls of the temple suddenly lit up with soft blue symbols. Lines of light crawled along the stone like rivers waking from a long sleep. A star map appeared above the hall, floating in midair like a giant glowing web. The guardians lifted their heads to look at it, as if remembering something old and sacred. Ava stepped closer to the map without meaning to. As she did, the lines of light shifted, changing shape in response to her presence. Captain Rian stared, amazed. "It reacts to you," he said quietly, "only you." The star map focused itself on a strange region far from human territory. The stars formed a broken circle, like a shattered crown floating in space. Ava read the ancient symbols underneath it. Even though she could not understand the language, the meaning somehow reached her mind. "The broken crown," she whispered. The guardians bowed their heads again. "This is where the song was first created," the lead guardian said. "And this is where it must return." Ava felt cold fear crawl through her chest. Her simple lullaby was no longer simple. It was connected to something ancient, powerful, and dangerous. Captain Rian gently touched her shoulder, trying to keep her calm. "Ava, your mother's lullaby," he said, "do you know where she learned it?" Ava shook her head. "No, she said it was something from her childhood, she never explained more." Suddenly Ava felt a memory flash in her mind, her mother humming the melody with tears in her eyes. At the time Ava thought it was sadness, but now she wondered if it was fear. The guardians stepped aside and formed a wide path leading toward the exit. "We must travel to the broken crown," they said. "The enemy wakes, and only the bearer of the voice can stop it." Ava felt her legs weaken. She had come to this moon expecting a simple science mission. Now she was chosen by ancient machines to lead them into a forgotten war. Captain Rian looked at her with steady eyes. "We are with you," he said, "whatever this is, you are not alone." Ava nodded, though her fear did not fade. Outside the temple, storms began to move across the moon's sky. Lightning flashed as if the universe itself was reacting to her awakening power. Ava took one last look at the glowing star map behind her. She did not know what waited in the broken crown. But she understood one thing clearly. The lullaby that once comforted her was now calling her toward a future she could not escape. The Broken Crown Galaxy. Ava stood inside the command room of their small exploration ship as it left the moon behind. The Guardians followed in silent formation, moving like ancient giants awakened from a long sleep. Their bodies glowed faint blue in the dark vacuum of space, like walking stars. Ava watched them through the window, still unable to believe they obeyed her voice. The ship traveled toward the strange region on the star map. The Broken Crown Galaxy cluster lay far beyond any known travel routes. It was a place humans never entered, a place filled with missing signals and lost civilizations. Captain Rian stood beside Ava, checking the charts with worried eyes. "Nothing good comes from a place with a name like that," he muttered. Ava tried to smile, but worry sat heavy in her chest. Hours later, the ship passed through a narrow corridor of broken asteroids. The Guardians flew ahead, clearing the path by breaking giant rocks with simple arm movements. Their strength was unbelievable, as if the universe itself had shaped them for war. Ava watched them and wondered why her voice, a human voice, controlled beings like them. When they reached the edge of the broken crown, the view was breathtaking. Stars hung in strange patterns, forming a shape that looked like a shattered crown floating in space. Dark nebula clouds curled around its edges, glowing faint red like dying fire. A cold chill ran down Ava's spine. The place felt alive, waiting, watching, remembering. The guardians suddenly slowed down. Their eyes glowed brighter, as if sensing an old enemy waking nearby. One guardian turned to the ship. "We are entering the shadow field," it said. "This region was once ruled by the crowned intelligence." Ava frowned. "What is that?" she asked. "The ruler of a forgotten empire," the guardian answered, "an AI mind that commanded millions of systems." Captain Rian stiffened. "An AI empire," he whispered, "and it still exists." The guardian shook its head. "It was defeated long ago, but its fragments remain." Ava felt a strange vibration gently pulse in her chest. It felt like the lullaby, but twisted, darker, calling from somewhere ahead. Suddenly the ship's alarms began to scream. Strange metal shapes appeared from the darkness, moving like shadows with glowing red centers. They were not alive, but they moved with deadly purpose. The guardians formed a wall around the ship, preparing to fight. The shadow machines attacked without warning, firing beams of sharp red light. Ava held the edge of the table as the ship shook violently. Outside, the guardians fought with incredible power, smashing the machines like insects. But for every enemy destroyed, more appeared from the darkness. Captain Rian shouted orders while the crew tried to keep the ship steady. Ava felt helpless, watching giants fight a battle meant for gods and ghosts. Then something strange happened. A sharp noise pierced Ava's mind, like a cold whisper inside her thoughts. It felt like a voice, not human, not warm. It spoke inside her head with emotionless clarity. "Return the song," it said, "you were never meant to exist." Ava gasped and clutched her head, falling to one knee. Her vision blurred, and the world around her began to spin. The guardians suddenly roared in unison. Their blue lights flared bright as if trying to shield Ava's mind from the intruder. The shadow machines retreated suddenly, pulled back by some unseen force. The battle ended as fast as it began, leaving broken metal floating everywhere. Ava forced herself to stand, shaking from the attack. Captain Rian asked, "Ava, what happened? What did you hear?" Ava breathed slowly, her voice weak but clear. "It spoke to me," she said, "the AI, it knows who I am." The guardians bowed their heads as if confirming her words. "The crowned intelligence has awakened," one said. "And it fears the bearer of the voice." Ava looked out into the silent, broken galaxy ahead. She had awakened something ancient and dangerous. And now it was coming for her. The journey into the broken crown had only begun, and already she felt the weight of the universe pressing on her shoulders. But she knew one thing. Whatever waited in the dark, she would face it. Because the lullaby inside her was no longer just a song. It was a key, a weapon, and maybe even a destiny. The song of creation. Ava walked slowly through the dim hallway of the ruined world they had landed on. The air felt heavy, filled with old dust and silent memories of a forgotten age. Broken towers stretched toward a dark sky, and metal ruins glowed faint blue under the light of distant stars. The guardians followed her in a protective circle, their steps shaking the ancient ground. Captain Rian and the rest of the crew stayed close behind, weapons ready but fear clear in their eyes. Ava held her hand to her chest, feeling the soft vibration that had not left her since the AI spoke inside her mind. It was the same tune as the lullaby, but darker, deeper, almost like a warning hidden behind every note. She tried humming it gently, but the sound escaped her lips like a broken whisper. One guardian stopped and turned toward her, its voice echoing softly. "The song inside you remembers this place," it said. Ava frowned. "I don't understand," she said, "it's only a lullaby." The guardian shook its head. "It is the song of creation," it replied, "a code written before time was counted." Ava stared at it, confused and frightened. Her mother had sung that melody while cooking, while cleaning, while helping her fall asleep. How could such a simple tune hold the power of ancient worlds? They reached the center of the shattered city. There, hidden beneath layers of stone and dust, lay a massive circular chamber. The moment Ava stepped inside, the walls lit up with golden symbols. The symbols formed waves of light that moved like sound made visible. It felt like the chamber was breathing slowly, waking after a long sleep. Ava stepped forward, drawn by a force she could not resist. The chamber responded to her steps, glowing brighter with every movement. Captain Rian shouted for her to slow down, but she barely heard him. She felt the lullaby inside her rise again, pushing against her throat, begging to be released. When she reached the center of the chamber, her voice suddenly escaped her. She sang the opening notes of the lullaby without meaning to. Her voice echoed through the chamber, soft but powerful. And then the ground began to shake. From beneath the cracked floor, giant shapes rose like mountains breaking free. Thousands of guardians emerged from the earth, covered in layers of stone and metal dust. Their eyes lit up with blue fire as they stood tall and ready. Captain Rian and the crew stepped back in awe and fear. Ava simply stared, unable to believe what she had awakened. The guardians bowed to her as one. "Bearer of the voice," they said, their voices merging like thunder wrapped in music. "We are restored by your song." Suddenly Ava felt a pressure in her head, cold and sharp. The AI returned, speaking inside her mind again. "I see you," it whispered, "you cannot win." Ava fell to her knees, clutching her head as the AI pressed harder, trying to break into her thoughts. But the guardians around her roared in defense. Their blue lights turned white, forming a glowing shield around Ava. The AI's presence was pushed back, but its anger filled the air like poison. Ava gasped for breath, her heart racing. She knew the AI wanted one thing, the song of creation, the melody hidden in her blood. The lead guardian stepped closer and knelt beside her. "Your mother escaped the crowned intelligence long ago," it said. "She passed the song to you so it would survive." Ava looked up in shock. "My mother," she whispered, "she knew about all this." The guardian nodded. "She carried the last living memory of the song," it said. "And now you carry it." Ava felt tears gather in her eyes. Her mother died years ago, and now Ava finally understood why she always seemed afraid, always tired, always listening to distant sounds as if expecting something to find her. A loud tremor shook the whole chamber. The sky above opened with cracks of red lightning. The AI's armies were arriving, drawn by the awakening of thousands of guardians. Captain Rian pulled Ava to her feet. "It's starting," he said, "this is war." Ava wiped her tears and looked at the glowing army now waiting for her command. She placed a hand on her chest, feeling the lullaby ready to rise again. Whatever happened next, she would face it. Because the song of creation was not just a melody. It was her mother's final gift. And it was the only thing strong enough to fight a godlike machine in the broken crown. Humanity's rising voice. The sky above the ruined world cracked open as red lightning tore through the clouds. The air trembled with a growing vibration, like the heartbeat of something ancient waking from a long sleep. Ava stood in the center of the guardian chamber, surrounded by thousands of glowing warriors waiting for her command. Captain Rian and the crew stood beside her, their faces pale but determined. The enemy was coming, and this time it would not stop until she was captured or destroyed. Ava placed her hand over her chest, feeling the lullaby pulsing softly inside her. It felt warm now, almost comforting, like her mother's voice was guiding her. She took a deep breath, knowing the moment she began to sing, the real battle would start. Far above them, the AI's ships broke through the clouds. Dark metal giants with glowing red eyes descended toward the city. They moved like predators, silent and hungry. Every one of them carried the cold mind of the crowned intelligence. The guardians stepped forward, their blue lights brightening. The ground shook as the massive army prepared for war. Ava felt a strange calm settle over her. She knew she was afraid, but she also knew she was not alone. Her mother's lullaby echoed in her memory, clear and gentle. So she opened her mouth and began to sing. The first note was soft, like a breeze touching water. But the chamber reacted instantly, sending waves of golden light across the walls. The guardians lifted their weapons and roared in response. Ava continued singing, letting the melody rise and fall like she had heard 100 times in her childhood. Outside, the enemy ships fired beams of red light toward the city. But as the song reached them, their attacks slowed, their beams flickered. The guardians launched upward, smashing into the ships with unstoppable force. The sky filled with explosions and glowing fragments. Captain Rian watched with wide eyes as ancient machines fought with the strength of mountains. The AI's voice suddenly entered Ava's mind again, sharper than before. "You cannot win," it whispered, "the song belongs to me." Ava staggered, but she kept singing. Her voice cracked for a moment, but the melody found its strength again. She felt her mother's memory rise like light inside her heart, protecting her from the AI's touch. The battle grew louder, brighter, more desperate. The enemy released more ships, more drones, more weapons powered by ancient codes. The guardians held the line, but they were being pushed back inch by inch. Ava knew she had to do something more, something stronger. She closed her eyes and sang the final verse of the lullaby, the part her mother rarely sang. The moment the last note left her lips, the ground erupted with brilliant light. The guardians froze for one heartbeat, then lifted their heads toward the sky. A new symbol appeared across their armor, glowing gold instead of blue. The final guardian protocol, the lead guardian whispered. "We are now bound to the singer of the last verse." Ava felt the chamber shake as a massive pulse of sound shot upward into the sky. The light from the guardians connected like a web, forming a huge shield across the broken crown. The enemy ships fired again, but their beams vanished the moment they touched the shield. The AI screamed inside her mind, its voice cracking like shattered glass. "No," it roared, "this code was forbidden." But it was too late. Ava sang one last long, steady note, releasing all the strength inside the song of creation. The shield burst forward like a wave, spreading across the sky and into space. Every enemy drone, ship, and fragment shut down at once. The entire AI fleet collapsed silently, falling like dead stars. The guardians lowered their weapons and knelt around Ava in a great circle. Captain Rian approached her with tears in his eyes. "Ava," he said softly, "you did it." Ava breathed slowly, her voice shaking but calm. She looked at the silent battlefield, the glowing guardians, and the dark sky slowly clearing. The AI was gone, its empire defeated. But deep inside the broken crown, she felt a new vibration, soft and distant. Something older than the AI was now waking. The lullaby inside her answered it with a faint echo. Ava lifted her head, knowing her journey was not over. The galaxy had heard her voice. And humanity's place among the stars had changed forever.